Hello, friends. Today I am going to tell you the story of the Jumper movie. As a shy and introverted teenager, David Rice had a secret infatuation with his beautiful and adventurous neighbor, Millie. One day, while trying to impress her, he presents her with a small gift, a snow globe of the Eiffel Tower. But it is immediately snatched away by the local bully, Mark. Determined to retrieve it, David ventures out on the icy river and successfully retrieves the snow globe, but tragically falls through the ice and is swept away by the current. Believing he is about to die, he suddenly finds himself transported to the library, soaked and gasping for air. Feeling hopeless and resentful towards his father, David begins to realize the extent of his newfound power of teleportation. Deciding to take control of his life, he uses this power to escape his unhappy home and leave town. Before departing, he stops outside Millie's house, leaving behind the snow globe as a sign that he is still alive. But he chooses not to respond to her calls, leaving her to wonder about his whereabouts and well-being. David, now in possession of the extraordinary power of teleportation, travels to the city and secures a modest dwelling where he spends time mastering his abilities. He then sets his sights on a bank, successfully robbing it by teleporting straight into the vault. Amused by the fact that his bag isn't large enough to hold all the money, he repeatedly teleports back and forth to his hotel room to acquire more bags, filling his room with stacks of cash. However, his actions catch the attention of a mysterious figure named Roland, who claims to be from the NSA and is part of a powerful organization that seeks to track down individuals with teleportation abilities. As time passes, David's lavish lifestyle is evident in his luxurious city apartment adorned with photographs from his worldly adventures, and his personal vault filled with money. He indulges in the pleasures of life, such as surfing in Fiji and dining atop the Sphinx in Egypt, disregarding the struggles of those around him. The arrival of Roland and his use of electrical weapons prevent David's teleportation and disrupts David's peaceful existence. Desperate to evade capture, David manages to teleport back to his childhood bedroom where his father, alerted by his presence, pleads with him to stay, but David teleports away before he can be apprehended. Determined to reconnect with his past love, Millie, David tracks her down to her hometown where she works at a bar. His old rival, Mark, starts a fight with him, but David uses his powers to teleport them both into a bank vault, leaving Mark behind. He then approaches Millie and convinces her to travel to Rome with him. In Rome, David delights in showing Millie around the ancient city and even manages to gain access to the closed Colosseum. However, their private tour is interrupted when they encounter another jumper named Griffin, who informs David that there are others like him and warns him about a group of people called paladins, who are determined to kill jumpers. Griffin, prepared to fight the paladins, eventually overpowers the attackers and teleports away. David follows Griffin to his hideout, but is confused by Griffin's explanations and warning that his powers will put his loved ones in danger. David, feeling the weight of the danger his loved ones are in, returns to Millie and agrees to leave. They evade the authorities inside the Colosseum, but are detained outside. David decides not to teleport and instead instructs Millie to return to their hotel, but she refuses to leave him. Hours pass as David is questioned by the police and held with his passport until further authorities arrive. Suddenly, a woman, later revealed to be his mother, appears and urges him to escape and leave Millie behind. He takes Millie to the airport, but explains to her sorrowfully that he cannot return home with her. In the meantime, Roland takes advantage of the situation and visits David's father and Mark, whom David left stranded in a bank vault, to gather information on David's whereabouts and background. David returns to Griffin seeking answers and assistance, but Griffin initially refuses. Frustrated, David follows Griffin through multiple teleportation jumps and ultimately convinces him to help in a limited engagement with the understanding that Griffin has a personal vendetta against the Paladins, particularly Roland. Griffin and David steal a car and drive off, with Griffin using his powers to teleport through traffic as necessary. During their journey, they share personal information about their pasts, such as the fact that both of their parents were killed by paladins when they were 5 years old. Griffin also mentions the dangers and limitations of teleportation, including the death of a jumper who attempted to teleport a building. David and Griffin arrive in the USA, but they find that Millie's flight had already landed an hour prior. David teleports to her apartment in an effort to rescue her, but they are ambushed by Roland and his squad. David manages to teleport Millie to Griffin's lair, but Griffin is furious as Roland can now easily track their location. A fierce battle ensues, and at one point Griffin teleports a bus at Roland, who manages to dodge it. David is trapped and bound by Roland's electrical wiring and is meant to be disposed of later. Millie frees David, but her anger and fear of his powers are evident. She demands that he take her home and leave her alone. However, they are soon captured and Millie is held hostage. Griffin devises a plan to kill Roland by detonating a bomb in Millie's apartment, but David objects as it would also result in the death of Millie and others. The two engage in a physical struggle over the bomb and detonator, teleporting through various locations, including falling from the Empire State Building and appearing in a war zone, where David ultimately traps Griffin in some fallen power lines similar to Roland's traps. David returns to Millie's apartment, knowing he is walking into a trap. They use electric wires to tie him down, anchoring them to the walls. David has Millie move close to him, and remembering Griffin's story, he uses his powers to detach the wires from the building instead of trying to move the entire structure. The building begins to tear apart, and the roof shatters as the apartment disappears from underneath it. David, now a master of his teleportation abilities, sets out on a journey with his love, Millie. Together, they explore the world, visiting exotic locations and experiencing new adventures. However, the threat of the Paladins, a powerful group dedicated to destroying jumpers like David, looms over them. Determined to uncover the truth behind his powers and the Paladins, David visits his estranged mother, a Paladin herself, for answers. She reveals that she left him as a child out of love, but also to give him a chance to escape the Paladin's wrath. With this knowledge, David and Millie continue to evade the Paladins, always one step ahead as they jump from place to place. They make a decision to leave everything behind and start a new life, teleporting to an unknown destination, leaving the past and the Paladins behind.